Hey guys, Morgue here, and I'm going to be describing to you an insane DMT experience. There are 3 stages to a DMT experience: the intro, the breakthrough, and the outro. I also want to emphasize that what you experience on a DMT trip is indescribable. It is beyond words. So as I describe this to you, remember that it cannot be captured with human language at the stage of evolution and consciousness that they are at right now. So if something is described, for example, as machine-like, or alien, or insect-like, that is not what it is actually like. It's just these are the only words and concepts that we have that come anywhere near to getting close to what was actually experienced. So let's get into it. So immediately, mathematical patterns began to fill my vision, and I can only describe them as multicolored circles and fractals overlaying each other to form magnificent patterns. And I entered the first stage, the intro phase. Now, the intro phase is a vast array of mathematical patterns, and it's astounding. It's mind-blowing. And many people who do DMT only stay in the intro phase, and they never get past to the other stages, but they think that they've had the full experience because the intro is so incredible. So a lot of people stay in the intro phase and never break through and think that they've had the entire DMT experience when it's only been the intro. So laying back with my eyes closed and these patterns filling my vision, they began to come together until they formed a face. Now, this face isn't any kind of human face like my face. It was a mathematical fractal. A face of patterns is the only way to describe it. And meanwhile, back in physical reality, I am incapacitated, basically going, "Oh my God, oh my God." To anyone who might be listening, probably sounded like I was having quite a good time. I was moaning, yelling, "Oh my God," pretty orgasmic. And this face took on the form of what could only be described as a jester, a joker, or a devil. Again, it's nothing like what you might be thinking, but that's the only way to describe it. It had a very villainous feel, a feel of a character that wanted you to step into its parlor and show you around. It was like the circus ticket taker who wanted to usher you in to its tent. Those are just the feelings that I can best use to try and describe what this experience was like. So this mathematical fractal face appears extremely sinister, extremely frightening. And there's this feeling of that it thinks, I've got you now, and I've got something to show you. Remember, the trip has 3 phases: the intro, the breakthrough, and the outro. And that was the end of the first stage, the intro. We're gonna skip over the breakthrough for a minute. I'm going to describe the outro to you now. I was transported into the middle of a toroidal room, and it was filled with every color imaginable. I asked a question. Not out loud, but just in my mind. It wasn't so much of a question, but a demand. I said, "Show me the answer." And by the answer, I just simply meant the answer to existence. And the response I got was, "Oh, you want the answer?" And again, it wasn't an auditory sound or anything like that. It was just a knowing. And what flooded through the toroidal room were mathematical equations. Extremely complex mathematical equations, and they flowed by. And as they flowed by, they got more complicated and more complicated, and they increased in their complexity such that they began to appear in notation that was no longer notation as we understood it. But imagine new mathematical notation that will be invented, say, hundreds of years from now. Very strange mathematical notation began to flood my vision. Things now shifted and the scene completely changed. It was as though I was moving along on a conveyor belt towards an exit. Again, it's not like a conveyor belt. It's just all I can do to describe it. It was just some sort of automated moving towards. And there was an insect-like creature. Again, it wasn't like an insect. That's all I can do to describe it. It's nothing like what you would imagine an insect to be. Almost imagine just a amalgamation of mathematical patterns. And this mathematical insect was injecting me with what I can only describe as candy and poison. Again, it wasn't candy and poison, but the only way that I can describe it is because it was a feeling of something extremely positive and pleasurable and something toxic and disgusting. It was almost like getting a look at behind the scenes of when I was in the breakthrough and experiencing the intense highs and the intense lows. It's almost like I was getting a peek behind the curtain as I moved forward automatically towards an exit and was being pumped full of positive experience and negative experience. As odd as it sounds, it can only be described as candy and poison. Something very pleasurable, intoxicating, and sweet and sticky, and something very noxious and negative. So I just described to you the intro and the outro, but I skipped over the breakthrough because that was so incredibly powerful. I had to do an entirely new video for it on its own. It was the most heartbreaking experience of my life. Watch this video right now, go check it out and see what it's all about. Subscribe to my channel to be notified of new videos, and if you enjoy my work, become a supporter on Patreon so I can continue to create. A big shout out to all the Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. I can't tell you how much it helps. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Hail New Terra.